If you want to stand out online, if you want to become that go-to in your niche, if you want to be a thought leader, if you want to build $1 million brand, whatever your goal is, especially when it comes to you want to be seen by your ideal clients as the expert in this thing. You want to be known in your industry. You want people to be talking about you when you're not even in the room and being like, you need help with this, you have to find this person, you have to listen to this podcast, you have to follow this person. That kind of notoriety really comes from building your brand and your brand awareness, and that comes from your messaging. Welcome to Building Your $1 Million Brand. I'm your host, Kira Giglu, messaging and marketing expert, conversion copywriter, and CEO of The Copy Atelier. I'm on a mission to help female entrepreneurs build $1 million brands. So if that's you, you're in the right place. Join me for the best tips, strategies, and stories from the expert trailblazers, change makers, and entrepreneurs who are building their $1 million brands their own way. This is Building Your $1 Million Brands, a podcast. Let's get to work. Hello friends, how are you doing today? I hope that wherever you are in the world and however you're listening to this episode of the podcast, that you're doing really great, you're having a great day, great week, great month. What I want to talk about today is I want to kind of dive into a little bit of the signature trio that we use at the Copy Atelier. So I've mentioned this, I think in the last couple of episodes, I've alluded to what this is, what our signature trio is. And I thought it would be really useful for me to take each aspect, each part, obviously it's a trio, there's 3 parts of the trio, and actually walk you through what they mean, why they're important, and how you can begin to apply these to your own business. So what the signature trio is at the Copy Atelier, obviously, as I've mentioned before, plays a huge role in the name of this podcast, is that we're on a mission to help female entrepreneurs build $1 million brands. And how we do that is through this signature trio. So this is made up of elevating your messaging, refining your copy, and strategizing your marketing. So really it's your copy, your messaging, your marketing. But the verbs are important, right? Because it's what we're really doing to those things that really matter. And how this trio works, how it comes back to, for example, the $1 Million Messaging Framework, which I'm always going on about on the podcast as well. I had the workshop, the Create Your $1 Million Messaging workshop last night, and that's what we were doing in that workshop, is we were walking people through that framework, showing them how they could apply it to their business. It's a really great framework for just even being able to kind of traffic light out and sort of problem spot when it comes to your messaging, trying to understand what aspects of your messaging and your marketing need a little bit of TLC, need a little bit of attention and focus, and a bit of extra effort perhaps put in order for you to be able to see those better results from your marketing and from all the efforts that you're doing in your business. So that $1 Million Messaging Framework is the framework that underpins everything that we do at the Copy Atelier. It is one of the things that makes us unique. It's our specific, it's our intellectual property. And really it's what we work through with clients and with students in BMME. And what's so great about the framework, and it's not like this is, happenstance, it's on purpose, obviously. But what's really great about the framework is that our signature trio relates to and essentially comes from each of the 3 aspects of the framework. So in the framework, we've got 3 aspects. In BMME, for example, this is why we work through those 3 phases. And each phase represents one aspect of the signature trio. So elevating your messaging is, of course, phase 1, aspect 1 of the $1 Million Messaging Framework, where we really are working to cultivate that strong brand identity. And that comes from those base elements of your messaging. So it's elevating your messaging so that you have that strong brand identity. Then with phase 2 of the $1 Million Messaging Framework, which is optimizing your offers, really what we're doing in that phase is we're setting things up so that we can be refining your copy. So within that phase is where we're talking about refining your copy, finessing your funnels, all those aspects too. And then finally, in phase 3 of the $1 Million Messaging Framework, which is strategizing out and creating that skill-worthy strategy, like marketing strategy and messaging strategy, that of course aligns with the third and final part of the signature trio, which is strategizing your marketing. And so it's how all these things work together, and how we kind of use the signature trio at the Copy Atelier is it's what we do with our clients. In the same way with that $1 Million Messaging Framework, this is what we specialize in, these areas, is messaging, copy, and marketing. And what's so great and why I love what it is that we do and how we do it with our clients and students is because these three things are so interconnected. They're massively interconnected, and they really, I don't think that you can be talking about marketing or looking at marketing or helping people with marketing without actually also being able to help them with the messaging and with the copy, because those pieces are the foundations of your marketing and the foundations of your brand and your business. And so it makes so much sense to me, and to thankfully our clients and our students, that that's how we approach it, is through that lens. So like I said, over the next 3 episodes, I'm going to be walking you through each part of the trio so that you can see what it means, so that you can kind of understand why it actually matters, and so that you can start to think about how you can be applying this in your business, thinking about it in your business, and kind of troubleshooting, again, understanding like, is this part lacking in my business? Do I need to do a little bit of work with this part? Is this something I need to spend a few hours focusing on? So let's get going. If you want to build a $1 million brand, you need $1 million messaging. A core aspect of that, your brand story. Get our free Create Your $1 Million Brand Story workbook and get to work on crafting the kind of brand story that $1 Million messaging is made of. Use your $1 Million brand story in your messaging, copy, and content as a core aspect of your marketing and as a foundational part of your $1 Million brand. Grab your copy now at www.thecopyatelier.com/MDBS. So first up, let's talk about elevating your messaging, because that's the first aspect of our signature trio. What does this actually mean? Elevating your messaging essentially means scratching beneath the surface with your messaging. So it means going way beyond that surface level I help statement and actually digging deep into all the big core aspects of your brand messaging and what essentially makes up your brand identity, what makes your brand unique, how it stands out. You have to be making sure that your messaging is aligned with you and what it is that you want to be saying and doing, but also, of course, making sure that it's also aligned with your ideal client and your audience and those goals that you have for your business, for your brand, and what it is that you want to be doing. And you also have to really make sure that your messaging is impactful, right? It has to be saying something new. It has to be saying something different, or at least saying it in a different way. Because the fact of the matter is there's so much noise out there in the business world in general, but especially online. There's so many people doing so many amazing things, right? There's lots of really cool things going on. And there's lots of people doing the same thing as you in your niche and in your industry. And there's lots of people helping their clients in the same way that you help yours, and maybe targeting the same basic ideal client that you're targeting. That shouldn't be a cause for concern. And it doesn't have to be a cause for concern if your messaging is elevated, if it's at that place where you know it's specifically honed for your specific ideal client, and it comes back to and almost like promotes, right? Kind of makes the most out of what it is that makes you different. Why it's so important to elevate your messaging is really because if you want to stand out online, if you want to become that go-to in your niche, if you want to be a thought leader, if you want to build $1 million brand, if whatever your goal is, especially when it comes to like you want to be seen by your ideal clients as like the expert in this thing, you want to be known in your industry. You want people to be talking about you when you're not even in the room and being like, that person, they're great at this. You need help with this, you have to find this person. You have to listen to this podcast. You have to follow this person. That kind of notoriety, that really comes from your messaging, right? It comes from building your brand and your brand awareness. And that comes from your messaging. So essentially your messaging has to be able to get you there, get you to all those goals. Being that go-to, being a thought leader. A lot of people throw that word around. I've been seeing it a lot lately, throwing this idea of thought leadership around. And I'm still going to talk about it a lot because it's so important and it's one of the biggest things that we help our clients do. But you have to understand that what that actually means and what that necessitates. Being a thought leader is that you have to have something to say, okay? And you have to be unafraid to say it. You have to be unapologetic about showing up and saying it. But importantly, it has to be something that's worth listening to. It has to be something that people care about. And again, all of that comes down to your messaging and how you pick out those things, how you pick out those sort of thought leadership pillars is by digging into your messaging, because that's where they come from. Because they can't just be random things. They have to kind of come back to your brand and the whole purpose and your mission and your why, and what it is that you're trying to do, your values, your beliefs. But again, always thinking about these in the wider goals of what it is that you're here to do. The problem is that too many people's messaging is essentially it's very basic, right? It's not expanded enough. It's not elevated enough. It doesn't really go into detail enough. It's like I said, it's that very surface level kind of messaging. It's really basic is the only way I can think of to describe it without being rude. And the other problem is that too many people, and this is kind of why the messaging is so basic, too many people are saying what they think they should be saying instead of what they actually believe in, what they actually want to be saying. I see that a lot, and actually what that really leads to is misalignment, and you can see it in the results because you can often see that where people's consistency starts to fall, like where they're like, oh, I used to do this, but I don't do it anymore, or I really wanted to do that, but I just never did it. A lot of the time it comes back to actually when they're completely honest with themselves and they sort of like stop for a minute and listen to themselves, it's because they don't really want to be doing that anymore. They don't really want to be saying that message that they've been saying. They don't really want to be working with that kind of ideal client again. They don't really want to be serving this particular offer. And so when you can realize actually what it is you want to be saying and doing, it can make even just that small shift can transform things, because you start to get clear on and you lean into what you really want to be saying and doing. And that is massively important for your messaging, because of course you have to be saying this everywhere, over and over. You have to brand yourself with your messaging. You have to become known for what you want to be known for. And really, you have to be saying what you truly believe in, because that passion comes through. One of the biggest compliments I get from people all the time, from clients, from potential clients as well, and just from general audience members, is that they're like, I can feel the passion that you have for what it is that you do when you speak. And if we're on Zoom, if we're on video calls, they can see it. And this is also why I can't wait to do more in real life. And I do more of, I've never, and especially coronavirus, never got around to beginning it, which was one of my plans for last year. But this is why I can't wait to be doing in real life things, because that passion I think is so important. And I think being able is that vibe, it's that energy, and having that there isn't just great because, people know that I'm so passionate about what I do and they get passionate too. But it means that the whole kind of everything just gets taken up a notch. But you being able to do that, whether you're just online, it also comes through. It really, really does. And it's very important that that's there. And that comes from saying what it is that you believe in. The other problem with the messaging is that too many people don't think of things from their ideal client's point of view. So too many people with their messaging are saying only actually what they want to say. And they're not hitting that balance. And I always tell people that it is a balance, right? It's equal parts. And as much as, yes, your business has to be designed around your ideal client and they come first and they're the main character in the story and all those pieces, which is so important, they are the main person. And it's so true. And I will, of course, always come back to that and say that. But it's also true that you matter in your business. It doesn't matter whether you're building a personal brand or whether you're building a company or an agency, you still are the person that you're the CEO, you're steering the ship. It's coming from you. And so therefore there has to be that balance. And so you can't have too much or the other. You can't be just saying things that you know your ideal client wants to hear, but you don't really want to be saying because you're going to lack that passion and that consistency. But you also can't be saying things that only you think is right. And you're not actually thinking, what does my ideal client need to hear from this, right? It's that balance, and that balance is key. When it comes to actually elevating your own messaging, and like I said, trying to see, okay, how could I apply this to my own business? How could I be making sure that the messaging that I have in my business is actually where it needs to be to sort of get me where I'm trying to go, to achieve all the things I'm trying to achieve? Well, that's exactly what it is. It's about bringing your messaging up to where it needs to be. It's kind of spotting the gaps. Whether you're spotting these gaps through proper kind of analysis, like looking at your analytics and your stats and like looking at your KPIs and understanding actually, yeah, there's gaps here. I like to talk about, conversion gaps. So for example, if you can see that people are signing up for your lead magnet and they're opening the emails, but they're never clicking through, you've got a conversion gap there, or maybe they are clicking through, but they're not buying from the sales page, conversion gap. Like, why are these gaps here and how can we be filling them, right? So that's one way to actually be like looking, right? And really doing some analysis, like tracking your stats in your own business is massively important. And especially for your messaging with conversion copywriting. And in next week's episode, I'm going to be talking about, refining your copy. But with conversion copywriting, a massive part of it is A/B testing. It's tracking things, actually, analyzing data, right? Conversion copywriting is data-driven copy. It's copy that's based on research. It's copy that's based on psychological principles of why and how humans make decisions and sales psychology and all these really interesting things and important things. And so what that means is you can't just be creating stuff and putting it out and then almost like ignoring it and like, who cares, it's out. And as long as I do it, that's what matters. And of course, that's a massive part of it. Being consistent, actually taking the action is a huge part. But we also have to make sure that those actions are translating into results. So if you're sending out weekly emails every week, great. Are those weekly emails actually translating into results? You're only going to be able to tell that by analyzing, by going and looking at the reports, going and looking at the open rates, the click-through rates. Actually, even, really basic one is just tracking like how many sales you're doing in your business every month. How many new inquiries are you getting? How many new clients are you signing? Because if you realize like, hey, I didn't have any new inquiries this month, I mean, why not? Like, that's a problem that needs to be fixed. And therefore you have to kind of troubleshoot that problem and figure out what is it that could be causing this. And then you optimize, then you adapt, then you shift things up, and then you see what happens going forward. It's experimentation, such an important part of your marketing in general, your messaging as well, and your copy. We'll talk about that next week. And really, it's kind of thinking about like, if you want to achieve X goal, right, whatever that is, whether it's like a tangible financial or quantifiable goal, like I want to make X dollars in revenue every month. I want to fill X spots in my program every month. I want to sign X clients every month. Or whether it's like a less tangible goal that's more to do with how you want your brand to make people feel, how you want to be perceived, how you're positioning yourself. Like, for example, I want to make people feel reassured and like they can trust me to help them on this journey. If you want to really give off if you want to build a community, for example, if that's like a really big part of your goal, you need to figure out how to make that happen, right? And as I will mention over the coming weeks, I'll talk about this next week and in the third episode of this little series, which will be episode 92 in a couple of weeks, I'll talk about this too, but it's really about working backwards from your goal and then reverse engineering the steps, right? It's really like, what do I have to do with the messaging to make this happen? So it comes from analyzing the current state of play by looking at your stats, tracking your analytics, popping the hood and seeing what's going on. And I get that a lot of people put this off because it can be kind of like, stick your head in the sand. And what doesn't know me won't hurt me kind of thing. Like, you don't want to know what your open rates are. You don't want to know what your conversion rates are because you're scared that they're not going to be that good. But knowledge is power. So you need to understand that you have to arm yourself and empower yourself with that knowledge so that you can act accordingly, so that you can figure out, well, what do I have to do to my messaging to get me there, And really, this is what we do, at the Copy Atelier, in the agency, in the education stream of the business. This is what we do. In BMME, we work through, this particular aspect of the $1 Million Messaging Framework, the elevating your messaging. That's what we do in phase 1. With our one-on-one consulting clients, we do this by coaching them through and digging into the different aspects of their messaging with them. And then for our agency clients, we work with and for them to take what's already existing in their business and then elevate it. So we come up with new messaging and new pillars and new angles and new thought leadership positions, and we strategize it all out for them. But for all three aspects, 3 parts of our business, we're doing it in the same way of essentially working through it, figuring it out and making it happen. And that's what you need to be doing too. And I've said it before, but your messaging is the foundation of your brand, which means that it needs your attention just as much as the visual identity and the aesthetics of your brand needs your attention. So if you can elevate it, if you can get it where it needs to be, if you can make sure that it's actually working for you instead of against you, you will see the difference in your business. From how you're being perceived by your ideal client, how much interaction you're seeing with your audience and your community, the sales revenues and the impact that you're making, you will see it. Okay, that's it from me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. I would love to know what your biggest takeaway was, so you can tag me on Instagram at Kira Giglu and you can let me know there. I hope you have a wonderful day, a fantastic week, and I hope you keep dreaming big. I'll talk to you soon. Are you ready to start positioning yourself as the go-to for your ideal clients and as a thought leader in your industry? Do you want to build a $1 million brand? If yes, then you need to check out BMME. BMME, aka the Brand Messaging and Marketing Elevator, is our amazing high-touch 3-month group program for entrepreneurs who want to elevate their messaging, refine their copy, and strategize their marketing. In BMME, we work through our unique $1 Million Messaging Framework, and we show you how to apply it to your business so you can see better results from your marketing. With weekly calls, guest experts, weekly copy reviews, and access to me over Voxer, not to mention the personalized strategy and feedback, the exclusive copywriting templates and marketing resources, and the intimate group setting, BMME brings together a unique blend of education, tools for implementation, and a high-touch experience, making it one of the most personalized group programs in the industry. For more information or to apply for our next cohort, visit www.thecopyatelier.com/BMME.